A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our members in the audience who are joining for another session in the Sciative Knowledge Series. Would like to iterate that at Sciative Solutions, we are committed to bringing accomplished pricing thought leaders from around the world to share pricing best practices with our audience. Along these lines, our distinguished speaker today is Mr. Venugopal Chepur. Venu is the founder of Samprat, a business development and growth strategy consulting firm where he is leading business and digital transformation practice. He also serves as board member and chairman of memberships of International Executives Resources Group. A foremost believer in continued learning, Venu has completed several leadership courses from Cornell University and IBM Institute for Business Value. His diverse education within MBA in Marketing and Finance, and MS in Biology and Economics, and a BS in Biology and Chemistry. A volunteer for spiritual yoga, he believes in giving and leadership with humility and resolve. I would like to share one aspect of Venu that is worth mentioning because you won't read about this in his bio or anywhere. He has designed a holistic course called Business IT Leadership that he has been imparting to unemployed professionals globally, and he has assisted hundreds of professionals in both employment and successful careers thereafter. Venu, it's indeed an honor for us to have you as a speaker today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anshu. I'm all very good morning to all of us, and good afternoon and good evening, as Anshu said, from different parts of the world, I guess. And thanks again, Anshu, for the kind words and this opportunity to share some of my research, insights, thoughts as well here today with this August audience. And I hope it's going to be a great day for all of us. So I'm indeed excited.
Thank you,
Okay.
Venu. Just
Yep.
a few quick comments for the audience. Audience, you can follow and post your comments on Twitter using hashtag Sciative Knowledge and hashtag Ask Venu. Towards the end, as time permits, we'll take questions posted by the audience. Make sure to post your tweets with hashtag Sciative Knowledge and hashtag Ask Venu. Now, today, Venu will be talking about how being digital influences pricing. Digital channel has significantly changed how customers purchase, evaluate, and consume products and services. Thank you, Venu, for choosing this topic today for your talk. We all would love to hear your thoughts. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Anshu, again. Well, as I said, this is a pretty large topic. And first of all, we need to look at different parts of this subject itself, the three different parts. And I wouldn't really go, given the short duration of this conversation today, to delve deep into the each subject or topic, but then at least give you I try my best to give you a rundown of the touch points, so to say. And first of all, as I said, the first part is the fundamentals of being digital. Who can claim to being digital? Because anyone who has legitimately put their business details in a web page format can probably claim to being digital. And they think, and rightfully probably, they are digital too. And to someone who has provided the state of the apps with the state of the art technologies, where their customers can order or get their products or services with a touch of screen or press of a button, so to say. So this is a huge landscape. It's a pretty huge landscape. So in this, I've been very fortunate, have been helping clients and Fortune 500 to, in fact, Fortune 50 as well, to really understand what really builds into being a digital firm, being a digital enterprise inside. So as part of that, not only I had several interactions and learning curve myself to understand what are the standards that really build into being digital. So what we call is the digital experience standards, and then the other part is the second part is the macro level forces that have been influencing pricing. Because we are all pricing professionals too, so understand what really kind of from the behind, from unknown or known factors that really impact what we do as part of the pricing function. So in this, again, I just want to make a quick mention here that I wouldn't be really going into the usual strategic pricing aspects of it. We call it cost-based pricing or market-based pricing or value-based pricing, and perhaps even in dynamic pricing that is so prevalent with the digital age. But just the kind of touch points as to what are those forces that are disrupting the value or perceived value, so to say, because we are all concerned with pricing. So that would eventually impact the pricing, of course. And the third part is just put together from my experiences in interacting my clients and their customers as well, what from in a supplier or producer perspective, from a company perspective, from a business perspective, from a buyer perspective, and then some of those technology perspectives that would impact pricing. So it has three components. First is the experience standards, two is the macro level forces, the environment and ecosystem, and the third part is the actual factors probably that would play into pricing in the immediate future. This is the outline of the whole presentation. I know this is a large topic, but I'll be, as I said, giving you a quick rundown of it. Okay, so we're talking about the new digital world. This is a new normal, and we all know there are mega trends. I'm sure anybody who's involved in business transformation or digital e-commerce business, they all know what is cloud, the central store as data storage, being able to access the data from anywhere via internet. And mobility, we are talking about mobility. There are several capabilities that we talk about when somebody is being somebody has created the capability as a mobility firm. For example, finding a store location to checking prices and researching online before the customer's purchase, and the ability to read the purchase reviews about the product or a service, and actual buying itself, the buying transactions, and continued relationship after via the mobile phones. Basically, when they use the smartphones, all these capabilities in minimal time and effort. This is easy in the as it's self-explanatory. Is it how fast, as I said, is given the immediacy of a customer, how minimal time, within the minimal time and effort can we support them to be able to complete what they're trying to achieve. That's another thing. And then contextual knowledge management tools for support personnel. This is another important aspect of being digital. As a standard, for example, when you call the customer service, they grope in the dark as to exactly where to find what. They talk something else, and they probably go through the usual script, which has not really relevant at all, or probably take their own sweet time. For example, 5 minutes, put you on a music and go somewhere, searching for what you're looking for. All this is really irritating aspects of being digital. When you claim to be digital, you got to be right there. So contextual help. I remember we've helped the KPMG itself. They have this two aspects of it. They have their own application we call their automated auditing. They're basically auditors fundamentally. So in the audit application, we call it e-audit. And so the contextual help was provided at each screen. So whenever the auditor was addressing whatever accounting challenges, I just press on the I button, and then he would be provided. And then there is a customer service aspect to it. When they're doing it, whatever they are doing it, either their own employees or customers, when they call in the customer service, they can provide the contextual help. That's so relevant and direct to the aspect they're trying to achieve. Next is social media components, and we all know this. They call it Facebook, LinkedIn, or any other social media platforms. How we really invite those things, like, and absorb those things, and then how do you process this? For example, if somebody says this product is superb and then I really love it, I'm glad I bought it, and somebody else would say this product sucks and this is terrible, I never expected this. So there are two different expressions made out in the social media. How do we really take this? How do we really kind of process this and clean them as a data structure and put them in different buckets? And then how do we analyze, and then how do we really kind of disseminate this information? Who is supposed to be taking care of? How to resolve this? Somebody who's talking or complaining about your product or business, how do we really go about doing this? There should be a special capability and a task force doing this. So how do we really take that process and eventually resolve that is the capability. Analytics and metrics, and this is very, very known subject here. I shouldn't be going too much into it, but quickly, as I said, the persona. The previous age, we were talking about the segmentation, but now we're talking about 4 different areas within the segmentation. One is demographic, of course, where we talk about device ownership, gender, age, and household income. And then we're talking about the next thing is technographic. That is device ownership, device usage pattern, and device characteristics. And the third thing is geographic, basically location awareness, proximity, and patterns. Where is this person normally lives? And if I live in northeast of the US, and probably this is where they can actually pinpoint to a location. This is North Brunswick, this is where I live. Or this is a kind of a shop that you're talking about, and this is where you can really serve the customer. And then lastly, the behavioral. The behavior is very important. Because what kind of a content I'm interested in? For example, as I said, if I'm would like to pursue business school education, I'm searching online, Google. I look at different universities, cost structures, and whatever credits and information. So that is relevant behavior. And the consumption, what I'm consuming. What is the immediacy? If I need to buy, when do I have to buy, and how curious I am really to go after a product or service to be able to buy something. And then the intent itself, because we are part of the ecosystem, and if I am already a registered customer for somebody, for example, in Amazon, I'm already registered with my all my details out there. So what is the mobile ad interactions do I really respond to, and all that behavioral thing. So the metrics ought to be pretty organized. We've created several metric trees, basically, we call it, for each of the product and service, which each of the line of business, they vary. And then finally, not finally yet, we'll be talking about the next one is the shared of domain content and information. Basically, we are talking, what I mean by this is there can be so many other places that you may be talking about your business. It could be blogs, it could be white papers, it could be videos on the YouTube and elsewhere, and so many places one can find about you. So how we can really kind of organize all that in a fashion that they are available to our customers. That's what it means. And then SEO and SEM. This is, as you all know, this is search engine optimization and management. How effectively are we managing our presence, web presence, and how can we promote a positive perception of our brand? And that's what it talks about in the standard. And then the next one is the language flexibility. In fact, a country like India, they have so many languages. I'm sure, I don't know how many companies actually indulge in this at this point in time, but definitely some of the global companies I've interacted with, they certainly have a lot of language flexibility and the capability to being translated instantly and provide the necessary instructions in the language of choice of a customer, the preferred language. That's another standard for being digital. And then access need for impaired. I'm sure this in the US is quite been there actually. I don't know how much in the other countries, but here we interact with global companies. They certainly are quite concerned about providing some braille languages and capabilities and any other what do you call podcasts if necessary, additionally for those blind people or impaired people or anywhere however they are impaired, and anything that a company can provide to their customers, and that's another thing. So basically these are the 14. I mean, I can say definitely golden, but somebody always can dispute it. These are the golden standards, in my opinion. The 14 experience standards that a company, if they think that they are digital, or they tend to claim that they are being digital, they need to really invest in their time, money, and energy in these 14 standards. If without these 14 standards in place, it's kind of still a false claim, or falling short of a claim that somebody is being digital. This is fairly, these, as you can see, these are pretty self-explanatory, simple, easy. There are other standards are in the making, but they're all kind of adding anytime as the technology advances and as the market evolves, and the digital enterprise itself is evolving every day. Probably there could be other standard which probably supersede this or probably add up, or however that goes. So this is one. And then the next thing which I would like to talk about, as I said, the major forces that are impacting pricing. So basically, it's put together for this purpose. Actually, you can for this session. Actually, so please look at this: the customer-centric business design. So here, and then digitally enabled business models on the top and bottom, and the sideways, and emerging technologies and data analytics. I'll quickly give you a rundown of what it is, and then we can move forward to the next item. The customer-centric business design. This is basically it's a volunteer kind of an initiative where enterprises volunteer themselves. They said, okay, now whatever I do, it should be driven, or it should be meant for our customers, because customers is the king. It's a final person for the purpose of why we are here in this business. So why not we do everything that we do here is only that is targeted towards the customer. So that is in a very simple term. So you really look at your business model, your operating model, your revenue model, and then eventually transform all of that and actually identify those areas and those process functions. For example, you are digital. You think you are digital. Let me put this a simple example here. One of your customer places an order. He places an order 9 o'clock in the night, and then you have a back-end process with the databases and servers, which actually replicate 3 o'clock in the morning. They're probably doing a pretty good job of taking all the information across the world, and data marts and then data warehouses, and so much that you really have. Entire intelligence framework that you have is very robust. But the point is, the shipping clerk or shipping person who's sitting in the warehouse will only get to see that order in the morning after 3 a.m. We wouldn't be there at work. So when he comes to it at 9 o'clock in the morning, that means a 12-hour delta, the kind of a gap you have. That is good enough for somebody to go completely dissatisfied. So this is something like, so whatever that we do that ought to be customer centric. That's one. Number two is digitally enable business models. So let me come to that later, and then let me talk about emerging technologies first. Then the technology aspect of it is like, you have somebody says, okay, you put your finger there on the screen, and boom, you are in there. For example, even iPhone is actually the pioneer in this, and then so many other enterprises followed suit. So that something like that, and something like voice enable and eyeball enable, and something that you can say that that you visited something last time, the whole your website or your company remembers that the person was interested in this. And Amazon books itself and way back in almost like maybe 10 years by now, 8 years, I don't remember, but they used to remember what kind of book I wanted to buy, but I did not buy. They would come back and remind me, hey, look, you wanted to buy this. So this technology is really emerging so fast. There's so much of a new it is really impacting the customer's experience. So that's a huge, humongous value for pricing. That's the reason why this is the reason why it is there in this particular slide. And data analytics, we've talked quite a bit. Um, um, we just covered that data analytics part, how persona segmentation is a completely a new, different ball game, different capabilities of data ingestion, data how you really utilize the data into how you really define your own customers and his own requirements and needs, and then all that. So that is, and then digitally enabled business model. We also talked about earlier. It really lowering the entry barriers for anyone. For example, earlier insurance company means we needed a lot of insurance agents. Insurance agents offices locally available for all the customers. You needed to really have a bank supporting it and so much. Now we don't have to have, you can really have a website and create all the digital capabilities along with it, and then we don't really need all that capabilities that you need, the assets that you need. So that brings us to the inside of this slide. Well, let's talk about assets. The assets there, we all traditionally knew that there are three different players who created assets. First is asset builders. For example, Walmart, Ford, Exxon, Boeing, and all these big time companies, they delivered value, because we are talking about pricing. Pricing is nothing but value. So they kind of equate that. So they deliver value through physical assets, goods, and these companies make, market, distribute, sell, and lease physical goods and assets. They're all big companies with huge assets, physical, tangible assets. Then there are service providers. This is another assets, different kind of providers where they deliver value through skilled people like Accenture, IBM, and so many IT services firms that we know of, Infosys, Wipro, and all that. And then thirdly, technology creators also deliver value with their ideas and IPs, intellectual properties. They sell them. Even software creators like Microsoft and pharma companies, they're all examples. And Pfizer, Microsoft, they're all examples. So finally, there are new type of assets that they really create as this network. These are the companies who really deliver value through connectivity. The asset has changed its own value today. What is an asset today is a liability, because your chair, your phone probably was an asset before, but that's now no more. This is all depreciated. Probably this is a liability. But now with network orchestrators, they're different kind of a breed of a companies that they've already come. So this is a new trend that is happening for those companies. If they want to be digital, they need to really understand this, to how to really see the value itself. That's exactly what I'm trying. The whole effort in this session, and I just want to really take a minute again, explain to you in between, is that, see, we're all always concerned about cost-based pricing, value-based pricing. Absolutely, we have to do this. We ought to do this as a pricing professional. But we also have to take a step back and see what is happening to the value itself. The perception of value, how the value is perceived, is changed today. Earlier, the asset used to be the huge value. Even though they said, oh, this is a big company, they have offices all over. Today, you have Uber. You really, don't even think twice to book a Uber cab. They don't have any assets. They do absolutely don't have any assets. So the asset value itself is changed. How you really pursue an asset as a value is itself has changed. So you really have to take into cognizance how you really price, how you go about pricing and put together your pricing function. This is what the whole intent of the entire exercise is. I hope I'm walking you through in a pattern that probably is, and definitely stand open to any conversations after. But this is what it is. And then the cost and the assets. So let me also quickly give you what is a network orchestrator. They deliver value through connectivity, as I said. These companies create a platform where different participants, to use to interact and transact with many other members of the network. They may sell products, they may sell services and build relationships and share advice and give reviews, whatever. It could be even create and co-create the content, collaborate, and more. This is examples. If I give you example, you probably relate to what I said easily, because I wanted to give you first this. The eBay is one, Uber is another, Yelp is another, TripAdvisor, you name. There's so many network orchestrators are there. They are where the assets are different. So the asset value is different. How the asset value is perceived is so different again. So that's one thing. And then cost structures. See, when we are talking about the value being perceived in a different way, and when you can you really put out your product or service, make it available to be visible to your potential customer. Earlier days, you used to advertise. You probably are going in for a display ad, spending a lot of money in a magazine or a newspaper or a TV spot ad, or whatever that you do. But here, the cost of the distribution of the making it aware is different. The marginal cost has really come down quite a bit. So the cost structures are different today. So these people, the new generation, when they want to buy a product, the price is completely seen differently. They see that they think that that is their right to see that, being able to see that. They don't have to really drive up to any store. They don't have to do anything else that is available for an asking. So the cost structure itself has changed quite a bit. That is one. Then let's move into the transparency aspect of it. Then it brings us to the transparency. Price transparency is so wide today. If you really, as I said, when we all 90% of the customers today use the smartphones, want to buy a treadmill, a vacuum cleaner, or anything for that matter, even a small little yoga mat, you have in the screen itself, we can really search who is selling for what kind of a price can I really acquire it. It is very transparent. The next few seconds, you will come to know this is how much Walmart is selling for, this is how much Target is selling for, this is other Kmart, any other company is selling for. Even the original product producer himself, if he is selling this price. Even airline tickets happen. Priceline is this price, Travelocity is this price, and then if you see Emirates is this price, and the Emirates is a fly that the airline that you want to fly. So there are two different prices. So you have a choice. And so much of a transparency that is happening today is what is impacting the pricing as well. So we call it dynamic pricing. So pricing today changes by every minute, depending on the demand, depending on the inventory, depending on the circumstances. And there is also called surge pricing. You all would have heard about how Uber charges when a peak time and a traffic time. The different pricing is always there. So these are all the transparency that really adds up to the pricing itself. It's all happening because of the digital enterprise. And then customer choices. There's so much of fatigue you have to really take into consideration in your pricing, because I have so many choices. We're talking about economic model in the beginning of this session. I said, it used to be a what do you call what I call as choice in scarcity, basically. So not many products were available. Now we are talking about choice and abundance. So many products are available. So much of choices are available for a customer. They already get into such a kind of a fatigue. They're kind of running into a dilemma. So how do you deal with that? What kind of a, is there anything that you really have to, you can really manage that through a perceived value of your product? And that again really relates to how you price your product. Now, this is all again being a digital enterprise. And the brand ownership is another big thing. We talked about social media. Today, a brand is not our brand. If I can put it this way, the brand 1.0 is just to be something like a Coke, which was built painstakingly, advertising for several years, newspaper insertions and TV ads and so on and so forth. Now, that's how they went about building a brand. Today, it's not such. The brand is not theirs at all. Their brand is in the hands of their own customers, because they think that they own the brand. They think that they talk about the brand, they manage the brand, they co-create for the brand, they interact with the brand every day. It is not in the hands of the companies anymore. So branding itself has changed. The truth of the brand has changed quite a bit. So is the perceived value of a brand. So the brand ownership is also changed in the realm of being digital. So we need to really, we always talked about brand being, okay, I have a strong brand, so I go with high price positioning. That was the dictum. So now it cannot be that way. You have to really sit back and think once again, oh, this brand is not, of course, the perception is always there, but the brand is actually in the hands of the customers themselves, not your brand. How you really went about building a brand of what you think that this is what it is. For example, Yamaha motorcycles, and somebody I remember from my college days, there used to be a macho motorcycle. That was the positioning and branding that they've done. So okay, when somebody who's driving Yamaha motorbike is somebody who's macho guy, So, but that's not. And today, even that brand has undergone and it's gone, transferred into the hands of the customers. So how do you deal with brand ownership totally shifted from your hands to the customers themselves? The perception of the value is again at stake. That really relates to pricing. That's what I mean. And then lastly, omni-channel experiences. This is a huge one. That's why I took it last. There are two things that I would like to really talk about. There are two things which are always confusing. Probably there's a lot of overlap in this. Is that a platform is something like your desktop, your tablet, your smartphone, anything is a platform. A channel is a different. How you really interact using those platforms is all about the channeling. Because even in an iPhone, you have a what do you call messaging capability. That is a channel. So that is also a channel. So there is a small, there's always overlap in the usage, but you must really clearly be, knowing of what is it. And then want to move forward quickly. I know we are running out of time. This is this digital enterprise framework we use. I use it for presenting to our customers, and you talk about visual digital strategy roadmap, and then business and technology capability models and new markets, revenue streams and models again. Customer segmentation, you can see all brand aligned, and then explicit customer experience standards. Those standards that we've seen are generic ones, but every business has their own exclusive, specific standards. They will have to be developed. And then processes. Here, one quick thing, because the knowledge session, there are two things. One thing, digitization of assets, digitalization of workflows and processes. This is a very clear distinction. A lot of people have confusion about it. In my opinion, this is what it is. You always digitize an asset. you always digitalize a process and workflow. And then social media resolution center, we talked about a holistic intelligence. We're talking about business intelligence, market intelligence, and competitive intelligence. We have the application landscape at the domain levels and integrated platform and structures, infrastructures, and then supply side perspectives. We talked about brand value, price transparency, list prices. This is another funny thing happening with even in Amazon. They removed recently these prices, saying that whatever price we say, you trust us. That's the final price. That's the best price. Go with us. We trust us. This is a very risky aspect of it, because they begin to see list prices only temporary psychological advantage. Because so this is at $100 the list price, and you're getting it $70. And that's how you feel. They want you to feel good about it. And then shoppers experience and contribution factors, dynamic pricing we talked about, and then the data, how to monetize data we talked about a bit, of course, not too detail. Data means enterprise data, big data is social media, and bigger data is IoT data, which is another completely new ballgame. And buyer side perspectives is our fast changing customer identity, because at some point, philosophically you talk about, you are a father, you are a brother, you are a sister, you are somebody, you are a customer, you're a manager. So different identities are there within yourself. How do you really see different situation scenarios? You're a different person completely. So how do you really deal with that as part of the when you really have to understand your customer when you want to price a product? Shopping journey, it is a journey again. It is not just one time thing. It's a consolidated view of how the whole experience happens. Virtual reality and other technology advantages that are happening in showrooming, where you can scan a product price and check it out with other sellers. Fatigue when too many choices. We talked about brand trust. We talked about, because brand trust is a complete consolidated view of custom brand equity, customer equity, and relationship equity. And then opportunity cost itself. So how should I go for it or not? For example, if you want to buy animal protein, strictly speaking, egg is also animal protein, or chicken is the protein. What do you want to buy? So basically, there's so many blue ocean products available out there. So how the opportunity cost itself is there. Technology perspectives, IoT, digital data exchanges, advanced analytics. These are all technology perspectives that are working to being digital. And this is, I put together a simple example thing, how a retailer would, for branding, how this is going to influence pricing, macro interactions, micro interactions, and customer segmentation, and then big data. You can see all this basically, and then fulfillment. And this is one thing I would like to have not added up here. Depending on in-store pickup or how soon you can get the product, the pricing could differ. There's a lot of partitioning of pricing is happening. That is one thing very interesting. And customer support, as I said, that's very important. Not used to be the usual old era support. I need to be pretty. So this is what I put together, and then I've also looked at price transparency. Look at how many, just for searching for classic Rubik cube, so many players are providing a different price range. And yoga mat, there's so many things already. So this is what I tried to provide you today, I hope. And basically, it's more of a thought-provoking session than providing direct answers to any questions. But at the same note, I stand open to any questions and concerns you have, any conversations or consultations and assistance that you need. Please feel free to reach me. My contact information right there, and you can also reach Anshu for that matter, so we can work together.
Thank you, Venu, for this really insightful session. You have covered so many aspects of digital. But I think the crux you summarized very well towards the end, where you said that experience is not a one time thing, but a journey. And it's important for organizations to focus on every element of interaction that customer is having with the company, and understand how digital can help organizations deliver better experience to customers. Really insightful. Now, I had few topics that I would like to discuss with you.
Sure.
Now, in your forces model, you're giving an impression that business leadership is kind of going to become non-relevant going forward. For example, brand ownership will be transferred in the hands of customers. Your your with high degree of price transparencies and transparency in general, it will be very difficult to always have differentiated products in the market. So are you suggesting that companies will cease to have pricing power, and pricing power would not exist in the digital age?
Uh, Not really. Not in the strategies that we always talk about, the cost based and market based and value based, depending on situations that better known to the enterprise itself will be there, and the dynamic pricing probably also will happen most of the time. But what I'm saying is, just going by the traditional practices of how we see pricing will not probably help. We need to take cognizance of, we need to really figure out a way to get all these dimensions into pricing, which we so far, only a few companies, for perhaps maybe 15 companies if I know, and, so really really have this omni-channel experience for that matter. Very few companies really have, until 2014, only 5% of companies actually taken into cognizance of all these things, if I know, I've read about them. But maybe by now it was about 12%, is what I kind of gather, but nothing more. So going forward, the pricing function is going to change so much that the ability to take all these parameters into cognizance and eventually structure and restructure the pricing for a product service, and how we really want to present, either you to call it a brand, a company brand, corporate brand, or company product or service, that's going to change quite a bit. We are not there yet. It's just thought provoking. That's what I said.
Absolutely. Now, you also shared an expanded list of 14 experience standards for being digital, which you're also calling as digital standards in the new era. And one thing I noticed in all of your standards were they were all outward looking, in the sense, how do I serve my customers better, how do I have better information about what my customers are doing on social media, how do I influence their social media behavior, and so on. Now, a very integral stakeholder in this entire ecosystem in which you're operating is your internal team. And in fact, the new mantra that many organizations are following is employee first. So, what are your thoughts on leveraging digital to improve and increase the participation of employees in pricing decision making? Do you see any opportunities there?
Beautiful, actually, fantastic question. It's really pretty deep strategic insight question, and show. Why I say this, I'll tell you. There are two things I'm sure most of us know. This is outside in view and inside view itself, inside out view. So you can see this both ways in all these standards. Is this inside out or outside in? But how much we take outside in is our own choice, and how we really want to go about it. For example, I remember using an example that, okay, you set up a restaurant and a kitchen, and you think you want to go for a Chinese menu, and in a community where all the boys and youngsters are quite go out for eating, and they really like the Italian dishes. and how much can you really, no matter how much can you, how many millions that you really spend on creating a new kitchen and ambience, entire eating ambience, that wouldn't really help anymore. So you're right. So you need to really have the external outward look and insight, and then customer insights is another big thing in each of these enterprises, because customer experience insights we actually established for one of our clients, CEI, customer experience insights, which we actually literally replaced the market research firm and transformed into a CEI. So where we actually understand what is happening in the outside world with our customers, and how can we take some of those insights into how we shape these standards, what we do, and probably mostly it is all homework. It is how our preparation inside. For example, in the one of the examples I said, if one of your customers placed an order at 9 o'clock in the evening, and until next day morning he doesn't have any email confirming that they've received the order, and then the shipment is already on the way, and this is the tracking number. Today, a customer expects that. If you cannot do it and you said, okay, this is good enough for me, but it may not be still good enough. Even if it in a B2B scenario, it is not good enough. You have to have that kind of a replication process that does instantly. Maybe you can develop a new RAM, or do new cloud infrastructure where all these new questions can be addressed instantly in all the orders and requests, and then instant confirmations and email notifications can be done. So this is internal, yet yes, you're right. That's the reason why I said pretty insightful it is, because outside in view is what really kind of warrants us to really build how we want to build ourselves from inside out.
Thank you so much. We have few questions posted by our audience on Twitter, so I'll take those questions as in the order they have come. So we have a question posted by Sheetal, and she would like to know, how should companies preserve their pricing given that commoditization happens little faster in the digital space?
Yeah, that's definitely, this is it's a very uh, quite prevalent. It's all with every product. We have this challenge of being commoditized. So there are different ways that we can do it, how we really package this as part of the digital. We know that we've been doing, it's not a new science, a new practice. If you have a product, you can either partner with another company. For example, I tell you my conversation with Johnson and Johnson VP marketing. They were trying to sell stents, and that goes into bypass surgery. So I said they were having a hard time. Then I said, why would you really only sell stents? Why don't you really package it with a Quest diagnostics? Bring them together. I said, whoever buys, maybe you deal with the pricing the way you want it, but you can always differentiate it in a different way. So so Quest Diagnostics will have a contractual obligation. Whoever buys your stents, you partner with Quest Diagnostics, and every 3 months, somebody who buys your stents can automatically become eligible to going to Quest Diagnostics and get everything done, health checkups. So something that differentiates the original product, and you have to see the associated services or products, and if you can partner with them, people are willing to partner. So the pricing, if you only look at with a single mindedness, is look at the price product only, and you want to price it in differently, and trying to differentiate all the time, there is only so much one can do about it. So maybe this is already intellectual property surrounding it. You cannot do so much to it. Then where would you go? So obviously that there's so many stent producers and manufacturing companies that come up, like sprung up like mushrooms. Johnson and Johnson was facing a difficult time. I believe recently they sold out the unit, by the way. But anyway, so but that we're talking about 6 years ago. I had a conversation with this. So this is one way to avoid the commoditization trap, I would say. This is what comes to my mind. It could be, I'm sure there's so many other ways that one can do, but just to give her answer to her question, this is what it is.
Thank you. We have another question posted by Scott Smith, and he would like to know, well, his question is advice for startups in the offline space.
Uh-huh.
His comment is any advice for startups in the offline space?
Offline, I presume that he is not going digital. He would like to probably stay local and pretty physical in his endeavors, in his business, if I am right. And you can please correct me if I'm wrong. So absolutely, there is no stopping, because as we all know, we tend to forget this hard reality in life, that business always existed even before IT happened to this world. So we are coming a long way from being in a client server environment to today's digital technologies and app oriented businesses and markets. So if somebody who's totally offline, they can go with the simple rules of they want to go about business and pricing, because they know they're locally, they are probably, that's something like a niche marketing. Then in a niche market, how do you really go about doing your own business? You don't have to be, stay wherever. And there could be other competition, but if you're sure that in a given community, your service, for example, a household cleaning service, it's a commodity, of course. It's a service everybody can do. With so many substitutes, one household themselves, they can do the cleaning, themselves. But then there is a service. Somebody is actually giving it to our community here. They don't really are, they're not online, they're totally offline, but then their relationships, they do business the way normally it used to be done traditionally. They show up on time, and what all the disciplines they need to really follow in the business. And then the pricing, and of course one aspect of the pricing that comes to my mind, I would like to quickly share. When I was looking for a flight to Chicago, and I also needed to really rent a car. And this is online. I can always say, kind of provide some insight via that experience. Then I looked at, okay, what is it costing me? It's out of curiosity, what it is costing me to rent a car for 3 days, as opposed to how much it would really cost me if I fly and then rent a car there in Chicago and back, and just compared notes and then see what is the real difference. If it is under $100, probably I would still buy. If it is more than $100, and this was my thinking for a minute, I'm telling you. So this comparisons, really, we can really take this as an insight into providing something locally offline. Is it do they have any other opportunity? Even in online itself is a competitor by itself. So how would I really stop those online competition to eat my lunch? That should be the driving force, rather than unnecessarily confusing with all those dimensions.
Thank you, Venu. We are out of time. So I would like to thank you for enlightening our audience today on how being digital influences pricing. I'm sure many in the audience will go back to their workplaces with tips on how to leverage the power of digital in their businesses.
Great. Thank you so much, Anshu. Thanks, everybody.
For the audience, this knowledge series is being conducted by Sciative Solutions. Sciative helps companies compete and grow profitably through scientific price optimization. Please keep checking sciative.com for future sessions in the series. Our next session is on Monday, October 17th at 9 a.m. Central Time, and our distinguished speakers are Andres Hinterhuber and Todd Snellgrove, and they'll be talking about value first than price. Thank you for joining today, and look forward to seeing you in our future sessions. Bye-bye.
Thank you.